I'm just going to start our slide deck, if that's okay. Before we get started, I'm Lucy Brown. I'm the Director of Nursing Midwifery Leadership Development here at the Florence Nightingale Foundation, and it's my absolute pleasure to welcome you this morning to our final webinar, which is looking at career progression for internationally recruited midwives. And we're really, really pleased to welcome you today. We are recording today, as you would have heard at the beginning, and that's so you can access the valuable resources and share with your colleagues as well. So just going to have a quick run through of what's planned for the next hour and a half. We've got a wonderful array of guest speakers for you to share their insights and advice and support and signpost you. So as I said, this is the career progression workshop. Just going to go to the next slide if that's okay. So I'm going to welcome you today, and then we're really proud and privileged to have Professor Jacqueline Dunkley-Bent with us this morning, who'll be sharing her insights and her support for all of you. Then we've got career journeys from the fabulous Antonia Sierra and Mishba Mahmood, who'll give you insights how to progress your careers and show you which different opportunities are available for you throughout the NHS. Then we'll hand across to our very own FNS very own Professor Gemma Stacey, who'll talk about finding your voice, how you can really progress your career and really find out how you can utilize everything that's available to you. And then I'll finish up at the end at 11:50 just to share some development opportunities that are available through the Florence Nightingale Foundation, because we don't let you go once you come through on one of our programs. We help to support you throughout your careers, and there's lots of opportunities that are available for you, so be very much part of our alumni community, and we can share those development opportunities with you at the end of today, and we aim to close at 12 o'clock. So I'm just going to hand across to the next slide, if that's okay. And it's an absolute privilege to welcome Professor Jacqueline Dunkley-Bent with us this morning, who's given her time to share her insights with you all. So I'm just going to hand across to Jackie. Very much welcome, Jackie, this morning.
Thank you. Thank you, Lucy. And good morning, everyone. I'm delighted to be here, and hopefully you'll have some invaluable insights during your time with us this morning. So this is your time for those of you that are in the space on this journey, and for those of you that are leading and managing, this is our time too. So it's your time and your journey. And the reason why I decided to entitle my session Your Time and Your Journey is because an opportunity has been provided, and now it's your time to really get to the nuts and bolts of what that opportunity can mean for you. So your time, your journey. Next slide, please. So many of you may well be familiar with the fact that we do have a national shortage of midwives in England, and we have been working really hard. The team, Antonio and colleagues who you're going to hear from next, have been working really, really hard to press into international shores, into international waters, to invite those who are willing to join us in England to provide maternity care. And what a great family I believe we are here. So we have 1,000+ vacancies, but we have the money, which is always quite challenging. We have the money to recruit into those vacancies. And so the program, the International Recruitment Program, was launched in 2021. We have 96 trusts delivering on the program thus far. 403 internationally educated midwives have arrived, and that's absolutely brilliant news. So 403 are in our services in our country, and what a welcome we give to each and every one of them, of you. So the work will continue into 23-24, and it's just important to say that it is important for us to grow our domestic supply of people wanting to be midwives who are living in this country, and we are doing that. But we want pace, and in order to have pace to fill our vacancies, we are offering an opportunity to work in this country in maternity care, in the maternity family, in the midwifery family, to those who are coming from international waters. So the success of the campaign, always helpful to talk about that, has been down to a number of key contributory factors, and that's collaboration and engagement, support to enable trust to achieve, and passion, dedication and commitment. So we are committed to this programme and to supporting those who have arrived. And if you're online now and you are one of the international recruited midwives, we are here for you to ensure that your journey is successful. Next slide, please. So I just wanted, within that context, I wanted to share a little bit about a career in midwifery, contributing to the maternity family. And for those of you that aren't aware, we support the birth of around 560,000 women in this country to birth their babies every year. Probably just under 600,000 antenatal bookings. And we are absolutely committed to ensuring safe and personal maternity care. That's our primacy, and we have to meet a national ambition by 2025 to halve the rate of stillbirths, maternal deaths, intrapartum brain injury, and to reduce preterm births from 8% down to 6%. And that's why we have this ambition for safer and personal maternity care, so that by 2025 we meet that ambition, and you and your managers and those and others that are on in this webinar today, you are all helping us toward meeting this ambition. But to meet this ambition, you need to be happy and comfortable in the space that you're in, feel and be valued, respected and invested in. And I'm here to say to you today that this is an amazing career and a fantastic opportunity for you. And I'm using my career experience to illustrate this to you. So where do I start? Let's go bottom right in the black font, bottom right circle in the black font. I became a midwife, having done nurse training, and loved nurse training, but I only stayed for a year as a nurse. And then, although I'm still registered as a nurse, I became a midwife. I quickly developed a propensity toward teaching, education and training, and I became a junior lecturer, then a senior lecturer in midwifery. I took on what's called a supervision of midwifery role. It's now called a PMA role, professional midwifery advocate role. I became a consultant midwife. So I'm giving you a range of the things that you can become. You might want to stay as a clinical midwife on the labour ward, or a clinical midwife in the antenatal clinic. And I do that too. I work 2 clinical shifts a month, sometimes less, sometimes more. And I've worked I still work now clinically in the labour ward or in the antenatal clinic. So it's a great job wherever you choose to diversify or remain. I chose to become a consultant midwife, public health, curriculum leader in the university, director of women's services. That's my career in a nutshell. But if you go around the bubble, you will see that I published many articles, undertaken research in the university. I designed curriculums and wrote curriculums. I did an MSc myself, a master's, but I also wrote a master's and foundation, a master's degree and a foundation degree for maternity support workers. Along the way, I always wanted to give back, so I've supported many charities. I'm currently a trustee for the Florence Nightingale Foundation. For the RCN, the RCN Foundation. I do charity work, I advise on charity matters, I'm a mentor, I'm a coach, and this is all always maintaining a presence in maternity, working as a midwife whilst doing my national role as the Chief Midwifery Officer. I've worked on national guidance, undertaken consultancy work. My professional qualifications are right at the very top there, as you can see. So the PG is the teacher training that I did at Surrey University, as well as on the right bubble, you can see I have diploma's degree, a master's in health promotion, a doctorate, which was my last education programme that I undertook at King's College University. But back to the top middle bubble, top bubble, sorry, where it says professional qualifications. For you, you might continue as that midwife working in the antenatal clinic, midwife working in the community, midwife working in the hospital, midwife working in a continuity team where there's safe staffing to do so. But you might also decide to take on other roles. And I enjoyed my time as an aquanatal teacher, teaching pregnant women and postnatal women to do exercise in water. And there are special courses for midwives who want to become aquanatal teachers. So just a little nugget there if you wanted to do something in addition to your day job. I also became a therapeutic holistic masseur and taught partners how to support their partners during labour, just relaxing the shoulders and just giving a little bit of therapeutic massage in terms of relaxation, but not replacing intervention. Really important to mention that. So there are just, and also there are baby massage courses specifically designed for midwives who want to undertake baby massage. But by far, I think my aquanatal teacher sessions were by far the sessions that stood out in my mind. So what this diagram is showing you is lots of education that underpins a lot of the things that I did in my career to ensure that I was as good as I could be. 33 years of experience in clinical education, leadership, management. I've undertaken director roles in a few big organisations, and now I'm the Chief Midwifery Officer for the NHS in England and National Maternity Safety Champion. I call him my other half at work, Dr. Matthew Jolly, who's the National Clinical Director and National Safety Champion. So the two of us were appointed as National Safety Champions by a previous Secretary of State for Health. And that means that we are really behaving in an ambassadorial way across England to support maternity services, midwives, obstetricians to meet the 2025 ambition of halving the stillbirth rate. I'm soon to be, however, the Chief Midwife for the International Confederation of Midwives, and that is a role that I'm looking forward to, although I will miss my role in England. It's not something that I ever thought I'd leave as Chief Midwifery Officer, but I also want to press into international shores where there is a stillbirth, one stillbirth every 16 seconds, and in countries where there's a maternal death every 2 minutes. So as you can see here, there is range, there's diversity, there's lots and lots of things that you can do. And one of these things may well be of interest to you. But the point is, never think that enough is enough. There is always more that you can do to support that continuum, that childbirth continuum, that menarche to menopause continuum. The world, England is your oyster. Our profession gives flexibility to allow for you to press into any of these things. Why? Because you can. Why? Because your contribution is absolutely significant. You are unique and you have a unique contribution to make wherever you choose to work in the midwifery family. So my final slide. There is something about giving back, and I think stepping into my new role as a midwife, my new role as a midwife, I will continue to give back, supporting the ICM and its ambition and mission for safer and more personal maternity care across the countries, across the globe, really supporting midwives to do their very best. And so, as you can see here, I gave back, and this is a conference that I attended, a 3-day conference. I think it was in Delta State in West Africa. The conference was held in Abuja. So the middle slide is me teaching. I think I was doing shoulder dystocia there in Abuja. and then the certificates to the left of the screen, I was in Delta State at a 3-day conference down in Delta State, giving back. And of course, to the right, many of you may well be familiar with when you're speaking internationally, it's a family affair. So thousands of delegates fitting into a space that only holds hundreds, and the families are there. There were many babies there, and we were taking lots and lots of photographs. So this is my giving back to you, to tell you that your contribution matters, to welcome you into this amazing country, into this amazing profession, supported by leaders and managers that want to make you a success. So all the very best, and thank you for listening.
Jackie, thank you so much, and many congratulations on your international role and how much you've contributed to NHS England. So thank you, and really privileged to have you with us this morning and share your insights. And I wanted to extend to the audiences, we really want to celebrate your collective experience and knowledge that you're bringing to England and the country, and really want to help progress and propel your careers, because we really do appreciate you having an extensive amount of experience and expertise. But some insights from some really wonderful midwives that work within our country now to show you that share their career journeys and how they've progressed within NHS England. We have the fabulous Antonio Sierra with us and Mishma Mahmood. Antonio's going to share his journey next, a bit of an insight which will hopefully inspire you and show you and guide you and signpost you on the way that you could do and progress your careers. Please feel free to pop any questions in the box and we'll do our best to direct those as well. But thank you, Antonio, for joining us. It's wonderful to for you to be able to share your career journey with us today. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone. And how do we follow on from that? Welcome to the webinar, and I really hope that you're learning loads. We're so lucky to have Jackie attend our webinar today and open up the session by sharing her incredible journey, which I am sure that many of you will have found inspirational. So my name is Antonio Sierra, and I am the National Midwifery International Recruitment Advisor. And if we can go to the next slide, please. So where do we start? And I guess the best way to make a good start would be by reflecting on the journey. I think that many of you will have realized that I have a bit of an accent, and that I wasn't born in England. Based on that, although we shouldn't be making judgments in that sense, or preconceptions. And if you look at those two pictures, that person on the left and the person on the right is exactly the same person. It's still me, believe it or not. That picture on the left is not a picture that I am proud of, by the looks of it, but I think that it brings me back home, and it reminds me of the incredible journey that I've had the pleasure of go through. So I was once upon a time an internationally educated nurse, just like many of you, and international candidates wanting to achieve their dreams in England or in the UK, in a different country. And that picture was taken around 18 years ago. When I was a qualified nurse working in South Wales. And sometimes it's really hard to make a pause and reflect back and realize that 18 years have gone by, and all of the things that one may have managed to achieve thanks to the dedication, hard work that one puts into doing those things, but also the amazing help that comes your way from so many other healthcare professionals. So the picture on the right is probably one of my proudest moments, and this is where I was really fortunate to be able to care for my sister during labor and welcome one of my nephews into the world. And I think that these pictures will make a lot of more sense once we go through some of the slides that I have prepared for you to share my journeys. If we can move on to the next one, please. So that's it, really. I commenced my healthcare journey by studying nursing back home. Home is in Andalusia, so Huelva, and that is in Spain. A beautiful country, but unfortunately a country that perhaps doesn't have as many opportunities as England. does. And it was very obvious to me during the early stages of my career that I wanted to make a move and live in England to try and achieve my dreams. And literally 2 days after qualifying, I was really fortunate to be able to make that move. And I worked as an adult nurse in a stroke and rehabilitation ward in South Wales. I was so fortunate to be surrounded by amazing people who were so patient with me, helping me through gaining my English language skills, and also being really patient and supporting me through mentoring and coaching so that I could become a fully competent and confident nurse. Ever since I remember, from the age of 10, 12, my mother has always been talking to me about pregnant women and babies. And so I knew that I wanted to become a midwife one day. And that's what I started doing. I started applying for university courses, and I was really fortunate to be given a place at University of West London in 2007 after a couple of years of nursing experience. But I felt really strongly about my nursing degree and continued to work in A&E, stroke care, and also cancer care. In 2009, I qualified as a registered midwife, and it was a really exciting time because for once I had achieved my final goal. Well, I thought that was my final goal at the time, and I just felt that I was going to work to care for mothers, birthing people, and babies, and I just couldn't believe that I was getting paid for doing a job that I loved so much. I did that for a number of years, and then I became a labour ward coordinator, so like a shift lead on the delivery suite where most women and birthing people with complex pregnancies would be given birth. And that was after spending a number of years as well working in a birthing centre caring for service users who will have little complications or no complications at all during their pregnancy in a birthing centre. Being a labour ward coordinator was a job that I absolutely loved. I had the opportunity to lead on a shift, but also be part of the multidisciplinary team, have conversations with my junior midwives, making sure that they felt supported, and then interacting with management as well, and being that manager on call when the senior staff go home after a hard working day. But I didn't want my career to end here. And I always felt quite strong and passionate about clinical education. So I was really fortunate to be able to apply for a job as a clinical educator or practice development midwife. And I was given the opportunity to work as part of a team supporting mandatory training and also helping midwives with clinical needs and overcome any concerns that they had in practice, and make sure that they were competent practitioners that also felt confidence in their practice. Now, at this point, it was very obvious that education was going to be part of my career journey for life. And so I embarked in a program to be able to study at master's levels. And I wanted my master's to continue focusing on midwifery practice so that we could both explore not just the scientific part of the profession, but also the art that midwifery brings. And I managed to study at Middlesex University in London, and I learned so much from the interactions with other midwifery colleagues, but also some amazing lecturers that really inspired me along the way and gave me once again the confidence that I was lacking to be able to continue progressing in my career and achieve my dreams. In 2016, I made the decision to apply for my first senior managerial position as a lead midwife for education in the east of England, and I was really fortunate to work with an absolutely amazing and inspirational team. I learned so much from each one of the team members, and I was also able to drive any educational priorities within the team forward to make sure that we were able to deliver competent and safe care that was of high quality while supporting our workforce, midwifery and obstetric workforce in that sense. I have completed since then a number of training courses that have helped me become a better practitioner, I'll say, that have enhanced my compassion, that have given me the cultural intelligence that I feel I require at the time to be able to better understand the profession itself, but also the interactions that we have with one another. So I'm talking about a human factors training that I managed to complete, but also a postgraduate certificate in medical education to make me a better clinical teacher in practice. Thereafter, I applied for a role as a consultant midwife, and this, I have to say, has been one of the life-changing moments in my career. It's a role that I absolutely love because using a bit of everything, a bit of clinical practice, a bit of research, the management and leadership, you're focusing on quality improvement, service development, auditing, and clinical teaching. It's a perfect job, I'll say, and something that you will definitely be able to aspire to. And some of you may already be thinking about it. I will highly recommend that role. In this role, I used to care for women and birthing people with complex health care needs. And I was very lucky to be able to have the time to be able to provide to be provided with that protective time to have a consultation and give women and birthing people the time and the quality in the care that they deserve every time that they come through the clinic. Thereafter, my career aspirations are to continue studying, as you have probably imagined, and I completed a pre-doctoral, like a pre-PhD course at University of East Anglia, and that's what I'm trying to head as well in the future and in the long run, to make sure that I continue to enhance my research skills and that we continue to generate knowledge that will help us make our profession grow and better understand the interactions that we have with one another and the care that we provide to service users. Currently, I am working as part of NHS England as a national midwifery IR advisor, as I said to you. Jackie kindly went through all of the achievements that we have managed to succeed at. And I just wanted to recognize the amazing help, support, and hard work for a number of people that work behind the program, from IR advisors to nursing colleagues to PMO support, insights and policy advisors. We come together to make sure that we listen to your experiences throughout that recruitment journey so that we can strengthen our program and make things better for the future candidates. But may I also take this opportunity to say thank you so much for choosing England as your home and for choosing the NHS as your place of work. If we may go on to the next slide, please. Thank you. So a number of things that I have learned that I thought that you may also benefit from hearing. So just a couple of reflections, both personally and also professionally. So personally, you will have heard this saying, you know, the world is your oyster. And I always say that if that's the case, if the world is your oyster, then England gives you at least a 7-day pass. And by that I mean, there are so many opportunities for you to grab and to hold on to in this country. You won't believe it. I know that many of you will be starting on the very early stages of your recruitment process. Some others may already be in country preparing for your OSCE, and some others may have just gained your NMC PIN number. But after you manage to complete your preceptorship program, and even during, there'll be a lot of opportunities for you to be able to latch onto. So just bear that in mind. Personally, I think the number one reason why I'm still in this country, it's not just the opportunities that the NHS have brought my way, but also the amazing equality, diversity, and inclusion policies that we have. This country, it's very, very diverse as compared to many other countries, specifically I'm referring to Spain, for example. And I learned so much from those interactions from people from different backgrounds. I cannot longer imagine a life without that diversity and those interactions. So I will welcome you to, again, grab the opportunity to talk to people that look different to you, and you will see how much they learn from you and how much you learn from them as well. Now, work is important, but it's also important that you take the time to enjoy yourselves and breathe and live. There are a lot of things that this country also offers, culturally speaking. And if there's something you feel passionate about, theatre, running, sports, whatever it is, make the most of it. Yes, you came here for a purpose and to make sure that you are able to enhance your midwifery skills. But that doesn't mean that you have to park everything else, because we actually work to live as much as we love our jobs. There will be many of you that feel that there are a number of barriers that are preventing you achieve your dreams at this moment in time. And all that I want to say is that you may not have an answer, or you may not know what the tools are to knock down those barriers right now, but you will learn how to help yourself so that you're able to achieve your dream. So always be proactive and try to think what else is it that I could be doing to get what I want to get. And also, you will have heard this quote before: be the change that you want to see in the world. Just don't wait for anybody else to be that person. You're here and we get given this opportunity to be our true selves. Make sure that you do everything that you can to embrace that opportunity to achieve your dreams. I always say that midwifery made me, and by that I mean that I truly believe that I wouldn't be the person that I am today had it not been for midwifery as a profession. Yes, it made me the professional that I am today, but it also made me the person that I wanted to be, and it's giving me so many qualities that I can use in a day-to-day, not just at work, but also on my daily interactions outside work. Remember that you are really inspirational, and you are already inspiring many of us by the decisions you've made to come to this country and give your time and provide us with your skills to be able to help our workforce, but also help our mothers, birthing people and babies, and that is really inspirational. There will be times when perhaps you will feel that your self-esteem is not there. Always hold on to the thought that there is someone that feels truly inspired by you, no matter how hard it may be sometimes to feel that way, or to remember that. And then professionally, there are so many opportunities, and I know that funding may be a bit of an issue or a bit of an anxiety for many of us. I just want to reassure you that when trying to explore different training courses and opportunities to complete, very often I heard the quote, "There's no funding for it." What I'll say to you is open and widen your search area, because there will be a lot of different things that you can have access to with support from others around you. Thank you for the heads up, Lucy. And we're going to hear from FNF later on about different ways in which they are helping you as well. So make sure that you continue to demonstrate through your actions you're fully committed to your profession, and we do this day in and day out. But just a little nudge and reminder that, if we are authentic in everything that we do, then that will be seen from outsiders as well, and it will bring strength, and it will strengthen our leadership. Now, birthing mothers, people and families should always be at the center of everything that we do. And again, if you ever feel that you want to speak up and you just don't have the confidence, or you don't know what the best means to do that will be, there's always help available. But if you ever need that extra bit of help to give you the confidence to do what's right, always put that woman, that birthing person, that baby and that family at the center of everything that you do, and confidence will follow. I promise you that'll be the case. I may come across as being a confident person, but that has not always been the case, and it's still not always the case. But if I remember that I'm doing what I'm doing for mums and babies, then I just fly, without hesitation. Remember to latch on to the people that really believe in you, and there will be a lot of people that believe in you, trust me. Again, this is based on personal experiences, but there'll be times perhaps where the feedback that you hear is not as constructive as you would have expected. But search in the crowd, because there's always someone who can really feel you and who can really see through yourself. And that'll be the person for you to latch on. So as for mentoring, coaching, support, constructive feedback. And yes, you have that culture of, yes, I can do this. There may be times when I'm feeling stronger or weaker, but I know that I can do this. I know that feeling of imposter syndrome, and I'm feeling that you're actually in a job that you don't deserve, or that maybe somebody else who could be doing the job better than you can. And it's okay to hesitate and to lack of confidence sometimes. I think that it helps us reflect. It's okay to think about that for a number of minutes, and then just always go back to remembering what your strengths are and the reasons why you actually applied for a job, you chose to become a midwife, and hold on to those, because that's what will keep you going. Really important as well that you keep very high standards, and this is not just an NMC or an expectation from our regulator, but something that you should be remembering on a day-to-day to do what's right once again. So I don't know if you've ever heard this saying, but the standards that you walk past is the standard that you accept. In other words, if you see something that you're not particularly happy about, or that you don't like, do something about it at the time, and don't just accept that that's how things are meant to be. Next slide, please. We're coming to the end of the talk, and I just wanted to share this really inspirational quote from a TV series called The Midwife, based on an amazing book of a midwife that explains her journey in the 1950s as a midwife in the east of London. So fear can take us tethered, terror can clip our wings, but trust is its pain. Hope can lighten the sky, and love makes us courageous. And what matters most is not whether we hide or fly, or even where our journeys takes us, but what guides us home and where we come to land. Every time that I read this quote, I get goosebumps. And the reason why I get goosebumps is because once upon a time, when I made that move and I came to England to live, I promise you that I literally thought that I was going to be living in England for 6 months to learn the language and then go back home. But what's happened is that 18 years on, England has actually become home, and then my place of birth is a place that I visit to see my loved ones, to spend quality time with them, and to connect with my own roots, ethnicity, and culture. But you too may, and I hope that that is certainly the case, call this country home. And I wish you all the best, and I will always be here to advocate for you and support you along the way. Thank you very much, and continue to enjoy the webinar.
Oh, Antonia, what inspiring words, and what a wonderful way to finish as well. Thank you so much. Thank you. And Antonia does genuinely mean reach out to him for support as well. We're all of us at the Florence Nightingale Foundation and within NHS England are here to help and support you and progress your careers. And that power of network is so important, isn't it? Talking of network, we're really proud to welcome Mishbah Mahmood, who's one of our Florence Nightingale scholars, who has had an incredible career journey as well, just like Antonio, who's going to share her insights from a fabulous digital career. So over to you, Mishbah, and thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. This is where I need to check my digital skills and share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Perfect. So I started my midwifery career in 2013 when I qualified as a midwife. So I qualified in Sheffield. So I went to Sheffield Hallam University and did my midwifery training there. So I did direct entry into midwifery, didn't have a nursing career, didn't really have a job before becoming a midwife. At 19 years old, packed my bags and off I went to university. And it was very eye-opening. But managed to finish my qualification, gain my skills, and move back to Leeds, where my family's from. So I started working in Leeds teaching hospitals, actually the hospital that I was born in as well. So that was really nice. At Leeds, I worked as a rotational midwife. So I worked in all of the areas. So every 6 months or a year, we would rotate to different areas. So I did So we have a preceptorship program. So after 18 months, you progress to band 6 after your competencies are being signed off. So I started on the antenatal ward, then worked in maternity assessment centre, the postnatal ward and labour ward, and did a rotation around all of the inpatient areas. In 2018, I started my role as a digital midwife. I did this role it initially started as a 6-month secondment. So I was working on the postnatal ward, and I thought I wanted to do something a little bit different. So I started my role as a digital midwife. In Leeds, we have an end-to-end electronic system. So all our notes are electronic from the point of booking your pregnancy right up until the point you deliver and get discharged to the health visitor. So I work as a clinical subject matter expert on implementing the digital system, teaching the midwives, training, and making sure that the system is kept up to date with all our guidelines. So in 2018, when I started my role as a digital midwife, I got asked if I really wanted to carry on because I was really new in my career. But I'd always been really interested in digital. So when I was training in Sheffield, the community midwives used BlackBerry. So and when I came to Leeds, we were still using fax machines, and I didn't understand the concept of fax machines. I really wanted to see how digital could improve the way that we was working and kind of improve the efficiencies in the way that we were working. So I started my role as a 6-month secondment, and I'm still here. So I really fell in love with digital, and I felt like I was learning more and more about midwifery. It really opened my eyes. It really embedded my knowledge. It allowed me to go out and speak to more people, and it really allowed me to feel like I was really making a difference. And then the turning point in my career. So I've been a digital midwife in the trust. We just worked locally in the trust, and then with our local maternity system. So that's 6 trusts that work together. Hadn't really stepped out into like the national field. Didn't really know more about digital maternity outside. Hadn't really made them connections. And then in 2021, I got my Florence Nightingale Digital Leadership Scholarship. So I'd applied for the scholarship, I think in the November, December. And there was one place in the whole region, and I thought this is a really good opportunity. So there was lots of career pathways, there was lots of courses I could have gone for, but what really struck out to me for the Florence Nightingale Leadership Scholarship was, this is for me, this is for my development. And it was the first time ever I thought, I'm going to be selfish about my career. And I'd applied for the scholarship, and thankfully got a place on the scholarship, which I'm still shocked about now, to be honest. And as part of the scholarship, we have to do a quality improvement project. And my project was self-referral to maternity services. So again, the scholarship allowed me to stay working in the trust, but still be able to do a quality improvement project with the support of a mentor. So my mentor was Sasha, who's a Deputy Chief Midwifery Information Officer who works with Jackie. So it allowed me again to have that exposure to a midwifery at a national level. Because when you're at trust level, quite often you get messages that are filtered down, but it was nice to see information and everything that was happening at national level, and be able to shadow Sasha on site visits, and it was really good, like, eye-opener for me. And like Lucy mentioned, Florence Nightingale Foundation, it allowed me the opportunity to really spread my wings, and I always say it gave me the wings. And as part of the scholarship as well, so you get to go to the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts in London. So it's a 3-day programme, and it's about your personal presence and impact, and it really allowed you to do your communication skills, really find your inner voice, find your inner person, and the way that you project yourself. And I mean, I always thought I was a confident person, but RADA made me see a complete different way of myself. And it has really changed my life and really transformed the person that I am, and really, again, given me the confidence. And And then, as like I mentioned, as part of the scholarship, it opened up so many doors and so many opportunities, and it allowed me to really network out. So like I mentioned at the beginning, so I went direct entry into midwifery, so I didn't really have exposure to nursing. And in 2022, we have a digital health chief nursing information officer advisory panel. And a position came up because they wanted a midwife to join the panel. So this would be the first time they ever had a midwife to join the panel. So I applied for this again because I really wanted to get the voice of digital midwives out there, because digital nursing has quite a high presence and has quite a lot of presence in the national world, but digital maternity is a little bit far behind. So I really wanted to get the voice out there. So I applied and again gained a place on the panel, on the advisory panel. And this was, so like I mentioned, I was the first midwife to be on the panel. So this was an amazing achievement for myself personally and for the profession, to really getting the voice out there. As part of the advisory panel, I met a lady called Sarah Hambridge, who's now my boss. And she really, really believed in me, and she really made me push myself. And even now she still says to me, you need to step out of your comfort zone. And, you know, she really made me believe that the skills that I'd gained as a digital midwife were transferable. And I wasn't just a digital midwife. I could spread my wings again, and you know, really make a difference. So in 2023, I got the first ever role as a deputy chief midwifery information officer. So as part of my Florence scholarship, we work with Chime. I can never remember what Chime stands for, but we work with Chime, and we went on an away day to Somerset for 3 days. And when I came back out of there, I remember speaking to Jules Goodgen, who's our national digital midwife. There were so many CNIOs. Where are all the CMIOs? And then she said, well, you can do it. And I thought, can I? But I thought, I'm going to believe it. I'm going to do it. So in 2023, this is Jules here on Twitter congratulating me as the first ever CMIO. But I did it, and I believed in myself, and I achieved it. So I'm the first ever Deputy Chief Midwifery Information Officer for Leeds Teaching Hospitals Trust, and hopefully blueprinting that role so that the role will, many other trusts will develop that role as well. And my biggest takeaway to you all is, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for coming here, stepping out of your comfort zone, going away from your families and your loved ones, because I can't imagine it's easy, and coming to England to help support our profession. And what I always say is, if there isn't a seat at the table, bring your own chair. Really break down them barriers and keep fighting. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mishbar. It's so lovely to hear from you. And I do apologise for my camera. It's not seems to be working at the moment, but thank you so much, Mishbar. And congratulations on your role, and what an example you're setting to everybody in this school, the very first Chief Midwifery Information Officer in the country. So well done you. And real testament, as you said, is actually just keep going, that tenacity, keep looking and seeking out those opportunities, which I hope lots of people on this call will take away today. Next, I'm absolutely, thank you, Mishbar, thank you so much. Next, I'm absolutely privileged to welcome our very own Professor Gemma Stacey, who's going to talk you through about how you can find your voice. So Mishma really nicely kind of segued that and set that up for Gemma to talk about how you can really empower and feel empowered and make sure you push your careers forward. So Gemma, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Lucy, and thank you so much to Mishba, Antonia and Jackie for setting the scene so brilliantly for today's webinar. And what I hope you've heard, one of the key messages I hope you've heard through the speakers so far, is that there is absolutely a value being placed on the qualities, the expertise, and also the experience that you're bringing to your roles in England. And that this next half an hour or so is really going to be focused on how you can bring that voice to the fore and also how you can continue to maintain your energy to thrive and strive within your roles in whatever career pathway you choose to take. We've heard 3 really inspirational examples of the different opportunities that could be available to you. There are hundreds and hundreds of others, and we really hope that what we'll take from today is a sense of this is your choice and this is your opportunity. So if I could have the next slide, please. We're going to spend some time, first of all, thinking about what is your leadership signature. And by that, what I mean is the very unique approach to leadership that you will take and only you could take, because that's based on your previous experiences. It's based on your exposure to different situations and scenarios, role models, people in leadership positions that perhaps you didn't respect to such a same degree, but also around your culture and your heritage and how all of this contributes to the very unique way that you will lead. I'm going to talk you through what's known as the leadership energies, and this is really about how you foster and build your own resilience and energy to strive and move forwards, but also to maintain that energy over a long period of employment within the NHS. And also how you can have that ripple effect. So how will you use that to influence others within the culture of the organisations that you're working within? And as we've heard from our speakers today, how that can extend to a regional, national, and even an international level. Next slide, please. So I wanted to just start off with introducing to you some of the really influential practitioners and also researchers and writers that have really shaped my thinking around leadership. So I was asked quite recently, who would I invite to my perfect dinner party? And these would be the people that I would invite along. So I'm a mental health nurse by profession, and this chap right here in the middle actually is the only person on the screen that's not still alive. And this is a chap called Carl Rogers. And Carl Rogers was the founder of person-centered counselling and therapy, and had a real belief in the core conditions that we create within a therapeutic relationship to enable people to grow, to identify their own strengths, and to really fulfill their potential. And what Carl Rogers' ideas really perpetuated in me as a mental health nurse was that my role was really not to solve those problems for people or to direct and show them a path. It was really about creating those conditions for people to see and to believe in their strengths and have hope for their future. Now, you might think, well, that's relevant to you as a mental health nurse, but actually what I've realised is that that core belief is something that is central to my leadership practice. And through everyone that I have the opportunity to influence through leadership, that this role that I have in creating that environment for growth and for strength to be prioritised and brought to the surface is absolutely what I prioritise. And so Carl Rogers, despite being the founder of my therapeutic philosophy of practice, has also become the founder of my leadership practice as well. And that brings me on to the chap on the left-hand side of my screen, who's called Michael Watson, and he is based at the King's Fund and has researched and written huge amounts around what's known as compassionate leadership. And the reason why he has been so influential in my ways of working is that he has put an evidence base around what is the human side of leadership, and really being able to show that the more command control, task-based leadership is negative and has a negative impact on our productivity and our ability to do well within our working environments. And actually, where we can create environments where we are connected through relationships, through kindness, through being able to really champion that multidisciplinary and collegiate collaborative way of working, and particularly sharing power amongst the people that we work with, our colleagues, but also the people we care for as well, that's where we can really start to see effective working environments. And the reason why I find this so comforting and validating is because there is a robust evidence base to support this. So where people might have previously thought this is the kind of softer side of leadership, actually what we're seeing is that this is the tough side, this is the brave side of leadership, because our compassionate leaders are the ones that won't accept injustice. They won't turn a blind eye to poor practice, as Antonio identified previously. They will have the difficult conversations that are required to ensure that the right conditions are available for us to flourish and to grow. In order to achieve that, one of the things that I really value is the concept of what's known as psychological safety. And this has come from the research of Amy Edmondson, who's down there in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. And what Amy Edmondson talks about is creating a culture within the workplace where people feel able to breathe their whole authentic selves. And what that means is being able to challenge, to question, to share when mistakes have been made, to be able to feel that their mistakes can be learned from, rather than feeling that if we voice our opinions, there's a potential risk of being blamed, scapegoated, and reprimanded. And what Amy's research has found in lots of different settings, not just in healthcare settings, is when we can create an environment of psychological safety where people feel confident to bring their views to the fore, that actually the quality of our outcomes and the safety of the ways in which we work are significantly enhanced. But what that takes is a really brave leader that's willing to accept feedback, that will create mechanisms for difficult and challenging conversations to happen. And then finally, on my right-hand side, there is an author and researcher called Brené Brown, and she is a social worker by background. And her ideas have really taken momentum in the leadership field, particularly in America. And that's because what Brené talks about is a different concept of what a leader looks like and how they behave and how they present themselves. So rather than our leaders being seen as the one who always knows what to do, who has all the answers, who makes the decisions, is the expert in every scenario, what Brené Brown says is that actually what's really important is our leaders are human, that they recognise and explore their own vulnerabilities, and that they share this with their teams so that they can create that environment where people feel able to be open and honest about their own challenges and concerns, and that is received with compassion and kindness, just as we heard from Carl Rogers and Michael West as well. So all of these different authors, researchers, clinicians have really influenced my philosophical position on leadership. And the real key message to hear is that each one of these authors would consider every single one of us as leaders, because leadership for me and for these individuals is not about positional hierarchy or job titles. It is absolutely about you having the ability to identify the potential in processes or people, and a motivation to want to improve those things. And we can do that no matter what level of leadership we're at within the organisational hierarchy. We can do it in our everyday practice, in every interaction that we have. Next slide, please. Now, the golden thread that runs through all of these individuals is that they talk about something very important to this whole sentiment of leadership for everyone. And that's really about this sense of authenticity. And we can only lead others if we are willing to really invest and devote ourselves to our own personal growth and development. So we always say at the foundation that our self-awareness, our awareness of how our own emotions and behaviours impact on ourselves and others is absolutely our superpower as leaders. But we can never think that we're finished. We've constantly got to be reevaluating and reframing our understanding of ourselves. based on the experiences that we're having and the feedback that we're receiving from others. Next slide, please. So what does the research say about this term authenticity, and particularly in its relationship to leadership? So there's a real clear sense and message from this research that authenticity is very different to imitation. So if we find people that we admire in terms of their leadership and the way in which they behave and practice, we absolutely can see them as role models, but we should never attempt to be a replica of those people. Leadership has so many voices, and the way in which our diversity of voice is brought through into our leadership is a real strength that we need to give confidence to and give opportunity to bring through. So there are no universal characteristics, traits or skills that lead to a particular measurement of success. But there are some really key principles that we see in leaders that are identified as being authentic by their colleagues and by people that they work alongside, and as a result of that, seen as highly credible and successful leaders. So one of those is that they have a passion for their purpose. They've got a real sense of their why. They know what gets the fire in their belly and makes them really, really want to influence and succeed for the better. So their mission is really core to their identity and gives them energy on a day-to-day basis. They practice their values consistently, so they will not waver or compromise on their values. And sometimes this involves taking a risk, and sometimes that risk can be at the expense of a promotion, say, or it could be a particular opportunity for an organisation. But for our authentic leaders, their values are their guiding moral compass. They lead with their hearts as well as their heads. So they really focus on that interpersonal aspect of leadership. Their connection with people is really important to them, but they don't lead just through relationships. They also use information, data, to be able to ensure that their decisions are well thought through, well informed and well substantiated. They have a careful balance between their inner motivations and also their external recognition and rewards. So their inner motivations are what's driving them, that's wanting to improve, to succeed for the benefits of the people that they are serving. They also do recognise the need to be paid well for what they do, to receive recognition and reward when that's done well. But at the same time, that's balanced. That's not the only thing that's driving them. And those things wouldn't be at the expense of those values. As I said before, their relationships with their colleagues, with those that they're supporting, their stakeholders, are long-term and they're meaningful. They invest highly in those relationships. They are extremely self-disciplined to get the results that they're looking for. So in the stories you've heard today from Jackie, Antonio and Mishba, we know that you will have heard a high level of commitment and self-discipline. Each one of them talked about the in-depth study that they'd undertaken, the opportunities that they took that meant that they pushed themselves out of their comfort zones to get those additional results, not just for themselves, but for the people that they're supporting and the teams that they work within. But they don't do this in isolation. They've got a strong support team around them, and they also are valued and integrated within their own lives as well. So they don't just focus on their working world. They identify all the different things that give them energy and support them. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned before, the leadership signature is really about understanding who they are, and that your leadership does emerge from your life stories. It's constantly being tested through our real world experiences, and we're reframing that all the time to really understand those values that are at the core of the way that we work as leaders. This will involve discovering and rediscovering throughout our careers and our lifespan. So we're never seen as that finished product. And they always, always maintain that commitment to authenticity and really have a basis that this will enhance their effectiveness in the long term. So I really just want to pause for a moment now to encourage you to think about your leadership signature. If you feel able to or willing to, please do just pop in the chat box the things that really do guide your leadership, your purpose, your values, the things that really are so important to you, the non-negotiables that really would mark you as a leader in a way that's perhaps different from others that you've experienced in your own career. So I leave the chat box there open for you to do that as I just move on to our next slide. So what does this mean? None of us are born leaders. We all have the absolute potential to develop as leaders, to exercise our leadership influence. This is not about a specific set of skills and attributes that some people have and some people don't. We all have the opportunity to develop these things, but that will require that really careful introspection, that really careful perspective where we're looking in on ourselves to really identify and express ourselves and understand our self-awareness, but also through that feedback. So gathering feedback continuously from people that you trust, from people that you admire, from those that report into you, from colleagues that you work alongside. So lots of different sources of feedback and willingness to really look at ourselves and reevaluate as a result of it. And finally, what this means is that there are no limits. Sky is your limit. You have heard from 3 really inspirational speakers this morning that have really not put constraints around what they're able to achieve by really committing to this development. They have managed to break through various different barriers and boundaries and become the firsts, or really become the trailblazers in their particular area. And there is no reason why that can't be you. And that doesn't necessarily mean this is about promotion. So leadership doesn't have to mean a series of different roles and responsibilities that increase your promotion and your hierarchy as you progress. This can be about being the very best midwife that you can be in whatever setting you choose. And that might not mean promotion in terms of progress in terms of promotion, but will absolutely mean progress in terms of the quality of what you're able to offer to the women and birthing people that you're supporting, but also your colleagues as well. Next slide, please. So I really encourage you to think about your personal narrative, to think about the context of your own values. What is it that has shaped your values that you hold really close to your ways of working, to the way that you see the world, the way that you interact with others around you? What's given you inspiration to want to make an impact on the world? What's given you the drive to pursue this opportunity to work in England and within the NHS? And how will that enable you to continue to strive forward? How do you make sense of the events and the interactions that have been important to you, and those formative experiences, those that were really early in your life, that have really shaped who you are, but then go on to shape you and give you that deeper purpose and passion to lead? So just to really briefly on the next slide, give you a bit of a sense of my personal narrative and how that's influenced my own leadership journey. So as I mentioned before, I'm a mental health nurse by profession, and I put mental health nurse right at the centre of my leadership signature because I really don't think that there was ever an option for me to have been anything else. So I really see mental health nursing as totally integral to my core. The person that I am, the way in which I interact with family, friends, my colleagues is really totally centred around my mental health nursing practice. And the reason for that is from a very young age, I had exposure to the mental health system. And that was through my mum, who has long-term mental health problems and experienced many crises of mental health as I was growing up. And the first time was when I was 10 years old. And that was a moment which was really pivotal to me, because it was a day I was collected from school by a social worker as opposed to my mum or another member of my family. And what I realised at that moment was that these professionals, the mental health nurses, the social workers, had so much power to influence what would happen to me and my family. And that some of those professionals used that power for immense good, that they worked collaboratively, they helped us to make decisions together for the benefit of us as a whole, and they had that long-term view of our recovery at the heart of that decision-making practice. And they were so inspiring. I really wanted to feel able to have that same influence on other families in the way that I'd benefited. Similarly, I experienced the opposite of that, where those professionals use their power in more negative ways. And really, as a result of that, I learned the darker side of that system and really felt the impacts of that in terms of stigma, discrimination, and the longer term impacts that's had on the relationships that I have with my family and the wider system. So the power of those professionals was so important to me, and I loved it. I lived and breathed that world. My whole growing up was characterised by a fascination with not only the experience of my mum's care, but also really understanding the distress of others that I came into contact with as a result of that, and really feeling that inner drive to want to make a difference. Now, what that meant was I was a very fired up 18-year-old with a huge amount of experience for a very young age, but also a lot of baggage that needed sorting through and understanding to make it that I could use that as an effective way to influence my practice. But what's been really key to me is, as I've progressed through my clinical career and my leadership career, is that central mental health nurse and that focus on relationships, understanding my power as a professional, and really looking to understand the motivations of others has become totally central to my leadership practice. And I think that is why I am and can be effective, is that I build relationships with people. I understand what it is that will enable them to be the very best version of themselves. And I put all of this in the framework of compassionate leadership, because ultimately I believe that people thrive when they have the right conditions to feel supported, understood, validated, and championed. So a little bit about me, and again, just to encourage you to spend some time reflecting on your own journey, which I'm sure is so incredibly interesting, fascinating, has had numerous trials and tribulations that have brought you to this position right here with us today. So just to recap on those key messages, if I could get the last slide. So thinking about those key ingredients to how we lead ourselves and lead others, make sure that we commit to gaining that feedback. This is how we will identify our blind spots. These are the conversations we have with the people that we trust, that can enable us to say, actually, you could see this from a different perspective, or the way you're looking at this is not, it's not incorporating this view and this point of view. We could take a different path. But really, really listening to and seeking out that feedback. Think about who your support team is. That's both in your working environment, but within your wider world as well. We can't achieve this kind of a moral commitment to the work we do without that strong support team around us. Rely on your moral compass when it comes to your decision making, and always use your values to guide your decision. Don't feel that your values need to be compromised because there's a requirement to fit in or to seek the approval of others. As Antonia reminded us, we must call out practice that we feel uncomfortable with, or if we're being treated in a way that is compromising our own values. Use our power to empower others. We always have the opportunity to look around us, to see those that need that helping hand, that lift up, And we have the opportunity to do that. That might be colleagues here that you're working alongside. It may well be those from your own countries and environments that you can really use everything that you've learned to pull them through and to enable them to achieve their goals also. So I'm going to move us on now to a slightly different perspective. And this is really about how you can maintain your energy to achieve these things. So next slide, please, Gabby. So one of the things that we'll often hear people say is, I just don't have the time. And the problem is when we think about leadership as the way in which we differentiate our time, often we can end up working really, really long hours to be able to achieve what we feel is needed. But that time is a finite resource, and we've got to make conscious decisions about where we prioritize our time. We're only one person ultimately. So what I'd like to put to you today is that rather than focusing on our time, let's think about our energy, because energy is a different story altogether. So if we think that every thought we have, every emotion we experience, our feelings, the actions, the behaviours we take will influence our energy, some of those things deplete us, some of those rejuvenate us, but all of this is under our control. And I just want to share with you some hints and tips really for paying attention to your energy as you make this really, really difficult transition into your new roles within the NHS. So next slide. So if we think about our energy in 4 quarters of a whole circle that makes us up. So there's our obvious energy, there's our physical energy that's about our fitness, our well-being, our diet, our nutrition, that we need to pay attention to. And often what we find when we're under pressure, when we're feeling that the weight of our time is limited, that we start to neglect the things around our physical wellness, that then has a negative cycle and starts to de-energize us. We also have our intellectual energy. So this is our energy of thinking, that curiosity, that ability to analyze and to plan, that really starts to enable us to feel motivated in a particular endeavor or something, or an idea that we want to take forward. We then have our emotional energy, and this is about that relational energy. This is about our connectiveness to others, our connection with our inner values, but that sense of feeling cared for, listened to. And then finally, and really importantly, but often the hardest to pin down, is our spiritual energy. And this is our energy of passion, optimism, that kind of core drive that really enables us to feel that we are living our values in our day-to-day. And for some of us, that spiritual energy will come from our religious background, our cultural background. Others, it will be from very different areas, but we will all have it. We will all have that spiritual energy. So on the next slide, if I could just encourage you to, as we go through this, think about each of these 4 quadrants for you yourself. So how does this make you think about some of maybe your own behaviours and actions? For others that you have the opportunity to influence, so your colleagues, people that you work alongside, your family, your friends, but also for your leadership across the health and social care sector. So how can you influence your organisation to consider these factors? So keep writing down some notes as we go through. Next slide. It's a whistle-top tour of this, so we could spend a lot longer, but I'm conscious of time. But just to flag each of these areas and give you some hints and tips. So as I said before, our physical energy, often the area that is most obvious to pay attention to, but the area that we neglect quickest when the pressure's on. And some really simple changes that have been shown to really influence our energy levels by high levels of really, really high quality evidence. So a really regular sleep pattern, so making sure that we're getting enough sleep as well, that we eat regularly throughout the day, so small amounts throughout the day rather than not eating for longer periods and then eating big meals at one time. Open spaces and access to exercise in whatever form that takes. but also some time to really focus. So I love this picture of the fox, but taking time away from the busyness of life to ground, to think, to focus on the here and now, and really use that opportunity to calm our body for distinct periods throughout our day. Next slide, please. Our next one is our emotional. As I said, this is about that human connection, our values, and how we feel cared for. And really what I'd encourage you to do in this area is to bring this to your consciousness. So to start thinking about your emotional energy so that you're aware of the different points throughout the day or the different actions that have either a negative or a positive trigger on your emotions, and start to be just really conscious of those things. Maybe even make a note when you feel your body almost rejuvenate with energy, but similarly when you feel yourself be really drawn down. So for me, what I know is that I am a planner. I like to be organized. I like to be able to follow a set plan for the day and to fulfill my objectives of that day for a longer term plan to meet a longer term aim. So if something comes in at the last minute and causes me to need to divert my attention at the last moment, I can feel that negative emotion kick in. And if we just move on to the next slide, what I've had to do is to learn some strategies for how to manage that. So the first thing is to think about how we react to those situations. We've gone into fight or flight at that moment. So maybe it's an email that comes in from a boss, or maybe there's a point of conflict with another member of your team, but you've gone into that adrenaline moment where you're either want to run away or you feel you need to fight in response. And what happens is we go into real tunnel vision in that moment, and we can't really see the wood for the trees. We don't really know what's the best way to act. But what the evidence says is if we take a moment just to focus in on our breathing and we engage in that very deep abdominal breathing, we can turn off that fight or flight response and give us an opportunity to really slow down our thinking, take a breath and think about the best way forward, the best way to the respond, which is one that has taken into consideration all of the information, is coming from a much more grounded position rather than feeling that we're just responding quickly and not necessarily as well thought through. Another way that that the evidence says that we can manage some of those negative emotions is to create a culture of appreciation. So really noticing the contribution and value of others and really understanding their own motivation and aspirations. Now that will make them feel great, but the evidence also says that if we can do that as part of our day-to-day practice, it also rejuvenates our own emotional energy as well. There's also how we can look at a situation and consciously think about it through different lenses. So we might need to pause and think, okay, I see this situation in this way, but how might others see it? So that's about looking at an alternative lens. Another one might be, okay, I can't change the scenario, but how can I get a better outcome from it? So that's sometimes about just widening our lens. We can only see one outcome. Actually, is there alternative outcomes that will be okay? And then finally, it's the long game, it's the wider lens. So regardless of the outcome, whether it's good or bad, is there an opportunity for me here to grow and learn? So really looking at a situation that may initiate those negative emotions and looking to reframe them. So next slide, please, Gabby. So next one is our intellectual energy, and this is about our concentration, our curiosity, our ability to really give our best thinking to the task at hand. Now, what we know in midwifery and nursing is that sometimes we are placed in a situation where we're trying to keep all the plates spinning, that we're juggling so many different competing tasks. And what can happen is that we switch time, so we move quickly from one thing to another. And the evidence says that that doesn't work, it's not helpful, that we end up giving the particular task at hand less attention. It often takes us longer in the long term, and the quality of the output isn't good either. And what happens is we start to feel frustrated with that. We don't feel we're doing our best work. So a real tip that I think is helpful for this is understanding what part in the day is where your best thinking happens, and prioritising particular tasks for that, and and try not to respond to all of the things that would take your mind away from it. So rather than sitting at your computer and the first thing you did was check your emails, leave the emails until you've done that focused time. Or even putting some boundaries around this with your colleagues to say, actually, I'm going to focus on this for the next 90 minutes. Please don't disturb me until then, unless it's an emergency. And what the evidence says is that actually when we put those boundaries around this, very rarely does an emergency come up that requires us to switch our attention. And the final one on our next slide is around our spiritual energy. So I like to think about this as our sweet spot. So our spiritual energy is where we are in our zone. Everything feels like it's coming easy to us. We're really feeling that kind of natural enjoyment in our work. Now, real life doesn't allow us to do that day in and day out, but making sure that there are something in our day every single day where we feel that we are living our core values and we can feel energized by our work that we do, the way that we connect with our family and others. So really paying attention to what is most important to you and focusing on that. So just finally, to summarise, this is so important on the final slide, sorry, this is so important for you as an individual, and to look after your own energy requires you to attend to all of those 4 areas. But when you do that, you start to role model to others and it's infectious. Others start to have different kinds of conversations and you see the kind of actions that you're hoping to instill in yourself happening in your colleagues. Think about how you can integrate this into your professional development conversations. So things are not just about performance and time, they are about what will rejuvenate and enable you to feel energized. And then finally, for your organizations, how can our policies and processes really start to create a culture where energy is prioritized? Now, I'm going to pause there. I'm sorry that I've rushed through the content there, but hopefully it's given you some seeds of thought and areas that you think I can take those things forward. And I'm going to hand over to Lucy now to finish us off.
Thank you, Gemma, and thanks so much. And such an important topic to help people with. And as Gemma said, we've recorded this. You can read, come back to it if it's gone too quickly. And there's a really valuable resource to share with your colleagues and friends as well. So I'm going to finish up today's webinar, just go through a few development opportunities to signpost you, because I said at the beginning of the webinar today, this is just your beginning of your journey with the Florence Nightingale Foundation. We are here to support nurses and more importantly midwives in this case with their career development right through the span of their career. And as Gemma rightly said, it's not about necessarily being a promotion or being in a higher post. It's about supporting your leadership development, you as an individual leader. So I'm just going to go to the next slide. And there's a few areas I wanted to kind of signpost and support you with. Just going to give a quick whistle stop tour, and obviously I can share these slides with you and all the information so you can digest it in your own time as well. So we're going to talk quickly about the benefits of mentoring, reverse mentoring, which I think will be absolutely critical to your roles, kind of building on what Mishbah was saying and Antonio as well earlier, that reverse mentoring is enabling you and empowering you to go and speak to senior leaders and have your voices heard and make sure that you're getting that career progression and recognition you need. Then we're going to touch on the FNF development programs that are available to you. So this is hopefully just the start of your development journey with us. And then we'll talk about the support from the International Nursing and Midwifery Associations. So that's really helping you to transition into living and working in England. And there's wonderful organisations to help you with that who are have been led and developed by nurses from hopefully most of your countries of origin as well. So just going to go to the next slide. So benefits of mentoring. This might be very much for a vision for you, but there's loads of reasons why mentoring is good for you, but really it's about self-confidence and self-awareness, helping you to see how wonderfully brilliant you are and guiding you in the next steps of your development, your career. It helps you with leadership skill development as well, defines and develops your communication skills, and really helps you to ask for feedback, which is a really great skill for your development, and how to ask good questions. You become a really good listener as well, which is a great skill that we all have as nurses and midwives. And it helps you to explore and have exposure to new and different perspectives, but also really equally important is have your voice heard and somebody in a more senior position to hear and understand your perspectives and to see things from your point of view. You can grow a really good personal network as well. Utilize a good mentor to support you and introduce you to people. And here at the FNF, we will do that too. So what I would urge you to, as you've gone through your action learning sets, you connected with your fellow midwives that are transitioning in country, utilize those mentors, those individuals as well, to support your network growth as well, and share experiences as you grow and develop into your roles in the country. It helps to increase your chance of promotion as well, and shows you a variety of different roles that will be available to you. Today is just a snapshot of that, but please do utilise your network, us at the FNF, Antonia, etc. to help. And it also helps you to support other people. So what I like to say about mentoring is actually you support others. It's a symbiotic, which means you help each other relationship, and helps you to pay it forward. Again, helping people to see things from your perspective and your angles as well. And learning from someone from a different background, a diverse background, is just absolute joy to see things from different perspective, widen your opinions and views as well. So I'm just going to quickly touch on the importance of reverse mentoring. This is something I'm going to urge each and every one of you to do. So reverse mentoring enables people in senior positions to learn from and understand perspectives from different people from different roles. And as you're new into country, you bring such different perspectives. Your collective intelligence, expertise and experience from your countries of origin are absolutely invaluable. So I would really urge you all to seek out senior managers, senior leaders, perhaps Jackie, Antonio, help them to guide you and find a really good mentor that you can have influence on and ensure that transition into your role is as good as it possibly can be. And equally, you can learn from them as well. It's great to give senior people that exposure to new ideas, as I've said, and it helps them to see things from a different perspective. So I would say we have a bit of a phrase when I'm doing leadership development here at the FNF, is actually it's not about knocking on doors, it's about banging down doors and ensuring that people hear your opinions. People want to hear from you, so keep trying, keep pushing forward. It's really important that the leadership approach is more inclusive and appreciative, have an understanding of the diversity of our workforce. And actually what's really important is to propel careers from people from a diverse background to ensure that the leadership is representative of the populations that we serve. So I really would urge you, maybe that's a takeaway to jot down, to really look at finding a mentor, but also looking to be a reverse mentor from someone in an exec position or board position potentially. I'm going to go to my next slide, if that's okay, in the interest of time. Wanted to share with you just a quick insight into further opportunities, and there's links on this slide as well for you to click in your own leisure and have a look. But one thing I wanted to bring to your attention was we have a fantastic programme which is fully funded, developed online. We have 1,000 fully funded places, so I really hope each and every one of you take opportunity for this. It's a 6-month development programme, predominantly online or virtual, so you don't have to physically go anywhere, so it helps with your transition, don't have to travel, but also helps you to fit it around work as well and complete in your own time. So it's really flexible. And what it helps to empower is building on some of the skills you've learned through these workshops. It allows you to connect with a fantastic network of internationally educated nurses and midwives and really develop skills together. So there's details there, but just to give you a bit of an insight, 98% satisfaction for people who complete an online program with us, just to give you a bit of insights there as well. So just going to go to the next slide, if that's okay. We also have a blended approach, which means we have it's online, virtual, and also face-to-face elements. And these programs, again, are fully funded, and they're with the Windrush and Mary Seacole, and applications for those will be opening very soon as well in July. So please keep your eyes peeled. We'd really, really love to see applications from each and every one of you. They're fully funded, but we do ask your trust that you're working out to fund your travel to come to those face-to-face workshops. So please look out, and the links there. And again, I know I keep saying it, please do grab the opportunity and apply. We want to see you progress your careers, and we really, really want to support you to settle in country, but develop your skills even further, and also share your expertise and experience as well. That learning, that power of the network is just completely invaluable, and we really appreciate the experience and expertise you bring. So next slide, if that's okay. We also, what's really important is our wonderful head of global, Jenny, has a dual role. She works with us at the Florence Nightingale Foundation, but also works at NHS England. Now, Jenny has been leading a wonderful project in partnership with us over the last 3 years, developing and setting up international nursing and midwifery associations. So these are run by nurses and midwives who have moved here from overseas, and they've set up with their countries of origin support nurses and midwives that transition to work within this country. So it's not just about professional support, it's about pastoral support, allowing you to settle. Where do you buy groceries? Where can you go and worship? Where can you go and really start settling in and have a network of people who have that cultural intelligence where you come from as well. So it's really quite amazing. They provide health and wellbeing support. There's everything from yoga classes to dance classes and everything in between, but also importantly, there's professional support as well. CV writing, interview skills, OSCE advice and preparation, and it's bringing you together with a trusted network of like-minded individuals. So there's a email contact there. Contact us at the Academy. We can signpost you, but it's a phenomenal network which you can join to really help you transition as well. So I think that's it from me today. I'll just go to the next slide if that's okay. Just some key takeaways, I think, from the day, and a massive thank you to all of our speakers. It's been absolutely phenomenal to get that collective experience and expertise. But I guess my steer to you would be share your collective experience, wisdom and expertise. You are fantastic practitioners in your own right. We're really, really fortunate you've chosen to come and work in England. So we want you to share that expertise and have your voices heard. We'd ask that you support one another. Like we said about meeting like-minded individuals, link in with one another and support each other through that transition. You're having this unique experience together, so support each other and build on that incredible network that we have. And also reach out to us at the FNF and Antonio, as we said earlier, in his network to help us support you in that transition. Be bold. So talking about the reverse mentoring, be bold, share your experience and perspectives and seek out your chief midwifery officer, directors of midwives, your national leaders, heads of midwifery support for support. Please don't feel alone. We are all here to help and support you in that transition. And last 2 points really is grab every opportunity that is thrown your way. Grab it with both hands. We're all here to support you to grab those and find those opportunities. Some of them I've shared with you today, but there's a lot more as well. And keep in touch. We'll send you, we'll put you on our supporters mail network, so you're part of our alumni family. And we have a hashtag, Gemma and I, FNF forever. We don't let you go. This is just the start of your development journey with us. And just a final quote there, but I will swap out the nurses for midwives, is let us never consider ourselves finished midwives. We must be learning for all of our lives. And that's for the wonderful Florence Nightingale. Thank you so much for listening today. Thank you for coming along. We are here to help and support, as I've said. A massive thank you to Antonio, to Mishbar, to Jackie, to Gemma for sharing the insights, and for everyone behind the scenes who's made this possible today. As I said, this has been recorded. You can then share this with your colleagues who couldn't make it today, and it's a resource for you to use, and we'll email you all the details as well. Thank you so much for joining us, and apologies for going on over a couple of minutes, but I hope you don't mind because there's so many important opportunities to share with you. All the very best, take care, and as I said, keep in touch. Thank you all.